The bloody ledger of war. Why they always win, my friend. Let's sit down and talk for a moment. Today, when you turn on the television and see bombs exploding in the name of freedom, democracy, or justice, what do you really feel? If you're only feeling sad, you're missing half the picture. There is a dark reality they don't tell you about, one that never makes it into the pages of your textbooks. For America and the modern world it leads, war has never been just a struggle for survival. War is the most flawless, most ruthless, and most profitable business model history has ever seen. Think about it for a second. While ordinary families sent their sons, young boys, to die in lands they didn't even know, while mothers cut back on their daily bread and tightened their belts, someone was turning every drop of that blood into gold. America didn't just fight on the front lines. It learned how to build a massive financial empire out of those tragedies. From the value of the money in your pocket today to the interest rate on the loan you took out, everything is actually a part of this war ledger. The breaking point was 1914, the infamous Great War. In the beginning, America wasn't even involved. Europe, Britain, France, Germany, Austria-Hungary, was practically consuming its own flesh. While millions of soldiers perished in muddy trenches, a giant monster was born that devoured both bullets and money. Right at that moment, the big brothers on Wall Street, giants like J.P. Morgan, saw the opportunity. They said, help. They said, let's protect democracy. But in reality, they distributed loans with massive interest rates. Morgan alone arranged deals worth billions of dollars in today's money. Every bullet that exploded was actually a promissory note written to American banks. And do you know the most painful part? If Britain and France had lost the war, Wall Street would have collapsed. In other words, what they called national security was actually a recovery operation for the bank's receivables. Do you remember those old posters? Uncle Sam pointing his finger, saying, I want you. Those posters weren't just about recruiting soldiers. They were meant to collect the few pennies belonging to people like you and me, under the name of Liberty Bonds. Celebrities traveled from city to city, encouraging children to break their piggy banks. They sold people patriotism. But behind the scenes, bankers and arms dealers were having the biggest celebration in history. For the first time, an entire nation was turned into financial slaves without even realizing it. By the time World War II arrived, the rules of this game had become professional. America became the arsenal of democracy. Factories were no longer spitting out cars, but tanks and planes. But listen to this part carefully. 85 million Americans bought war bonds. In other words, the people were made partners in a war funded by their own taxes by also lending money to the state. Boeing, Ford, General Motors. If these names are giants today, they became so through state-guaranteed, profit-assured contracts in those days. War was no longer a disaster. It had become the main engine keeping the economy alive. And what happened next? The war ended, but the war economy didn't. In 1971, Nixon completely severed the dollar's link to gold. Do you know why? Because they needed to print money out of thin air to cover the costs of the endless Vietnam War. The dollar was now just a piece of paper, drawing its power only from America's military threats. They said, you will sell oil in dollars, and they called this the Petrodollar system. This means that every time you bought fuel, you were actually funding military expenditures somewhere. Look at modern times, at the War on Terror, a fairy tale after 2001. A total of $6 trillion was spent on Afghanistan and Iraq. That money could have gone to your school, your hospital, or your roads, but it didn't. That money flowed directly into the coffers of defense companies. The biggest irony is this. America may not have won those wars militarily, but the banks and the arms barons always won financially. My friend, the truth is this. Wars aren't just fought in those distant trenches. War is fought every night in your pocket, in your wallet. That silent thief called inflation steals your hard work while someone uses that money to orchestrate new crises and new conflicts. Crises are not mistakes. They are the fuel of this system. Real financial education is not about making a budget on a banking app. Real education is understanding how this giant wheel grinds you down. Next time someone blows the war trumpet, shouting about democracy or human rights, stop and think. Whose favor is this war's balance sheet being kept in? Whose interest is increasing? Whose stock is rising? If you don't understand this system, you will spend your life sweating for someone else's dream. But if you look at the dusty pages of history, you can see the invisible chains. We are here, and we are here to break those chains together. Stay awake. Stay with history. Because the answers are there.